Hello. I've been thinking a lot recently about words and about human conversations, talking, philosophy, and it seems to me that it's almost entirely meaningless in society, and that's not what's really happening, and that human beings are very much misled and obsessed and drawn to words, but that's not really what's happening. There's more to look in with those ideas, but my thought for the morning is, if I speak, what those words are concentrated feelings. A word, a thought, an idea, it's not different from feelings. It is simply a concentrated, a crystallized feeling that reaches a level of sharpness, so it becomes a kind of crystallized symbol. It is said that the old languages from ancient times, Sanskrit, they were the actual sound of the thing itself. In other words, if I used a word like orange, it wouldn't be separate from the object itself. Or, to explain it differently, all the objects in the universe have their own sound or their own name already, and you only have to listen to it to know what it is called. And that is indeed how the old languages were made. All the words that are used, like Om, these words are simply what the object sounds like in reality. Those words that are used in Sanskrit, they're not names that human beings have given to objects. They are what the object sounds like. And that is what words are. These days we don't do it with such precision, but yet I say this because the world of words seems to be separate from the world of feelings, but I think that's not true. As Gurdjieff said, all is material. All is material, meaning everything is made of the same stuff. Of course, according to the universal laws and array of creation, there are different stops in the emanation from the Sun Absolute into creation, so that energy takes on different forms according to which stop it is on the ray of creation. But it comes from the same source and is a different form. So thoughts, words and ideas are crystallized feelings. They are highly concentrated, but they are still of the same stuff as feelings. Another thing that I had recognized a few weeks ago was that the Gurdjieff talks about the octave. Each stop has a kind of gravity. What this means is that, what I'm trying to say is that when something is created, it then enters the heptaparaparshinok and starts to decay. But it does not decay uniformly. That would not be helpful. It decays in stages, in 7 stages. It is like once something is created, it becomes like a waterfall, a stepped waterfall, and it decays slowly in time. Entropy. But it does not decay in a smooth manner. It falls into 7 falls, and each one has a kind of gravity where it stays. And these are the notes of the octave: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And this is very important because as things decay in the universe, and most of what we see, unless it's at the moment of creation, it is in one of the stages of the heptaparaparshinok. And it's very important that it does not decay uniformly. And it's very important that it does not decay all at once. Because by decaying these 7 places of relative stability, of relative gravity, it allows them, even though they are in decay, to interact with each other. And that is what we see in the universe. All these objects that we see are in some state of decay. Some could be at do, some at mi, some at fa. All the objects, everything, from the tiniest to the largest, the planets, the trees, the ants, even the deities, they all at some state of decay according to their scale. But yet they interact with each other and create the huge dance that we call creation. In order to interact with each other, they have to be at a point of relative stability. They have to be at a note, and it must stay, even though it is, in one sense, along the line of the heptaparaparshinok, decaying downwards. It has relative stability, and that's very important, otherwise they would not be able to interact together. If they decayed uniformly, they would always be moving, and there would be no possibility to really connect with each other, and the universe couldn't exist. The universe can exist because the decay is according to those 7 notes. And so everything, even though it is in the heptaparaparshinok, has a relative stability in its note, and it can act and interact from that relative stability. Gurdjieff said that the fourth way had no fixed methods, that it arose and it vanished from society as needed. Is it true? Of course, these kinds of statements have attracted all sorts of people who have no intention and no ability to do any kind of disciplined practice. When actually, if you were to follow the fourth way, you would have to be a superlative, a superior type of seeker who was able to create forms and disciplined work wherever he was. Because that's the meaning. It's not that there are no forms, but that you can create forms wherever you are, within whichever life context you are in. And the Gurdjieff methods are designed to be invisible in life. The separation of I from it, the separation of your manifestations into the 3 centers. And if we look at the Gurdjieff movements, and there are many of them, hundreds of them, but at the beginning there is a sequence of obligatory movements that the student learns at the beginning. And so you can see from that, you can make an analogy from that you need to reach a certain threshold before you are carefully guided into more open kind of work by a specialist teacher. And if there is no specialist teacher, as there may not be today, you should try and enclose yourself in disciplined practice. I should say that also, if we look at Gurdjieff in the Prieure, or Gurdjieff after the Prieure in Paris, he worked his students very hard. I mean, he was there like a sergeant major. They were all working their balls off. So the idea that they were working in life, they weren't really working in life. They were just using methods that are hidden under the skin. But they were in a kind of ashram. The Prieure was an ashram. It was a spiritual center with particularly high level of energy and commitment. And most of the people there worked very hard. And, when he was in Paris, in the other contexts that he taught in, there was a community, a very tight-knit community. And they met in the evening, all evening until the early hours. They read, they worked, they cooked, they were together. They were another spiritual school. There was he never taught in some sort of open context. He created a spiritual school. It's just that it moved in and out of the urban environment from one country to another, but it was a spiritual school. It was an ashram with teachers, lineages, hierarchies, and methods. The other question I've been asking myself this week is, why did Gurdjieff lose the Prieure? Why, for God's sake, did he not get his students, many of them were very gifted, and they certainly worked very hard? Why didn't he make something? Why didn't he create a little factory there? Why didn't he create a little factory in the Prieure and have them making French knickers or become hypnotherapists or anything? He was an expert in so many things. Why not? And then he would have saved it financially. Instead, he lost it. He was forced to sell the Prieure, if I remember rightly, to some idiot whose life he had actually saved, but who brokered the sale, and he didn't make much money of it, and retired into a small flat maybe not small, but in Paris, a nice flat. But the center was gone. This center that had been such a joy for so many. Why didn't he create a factory? Why didn't he get people to work? Surely he could have done that. Well, I'm sure he could have done. I don't really know why he didn't do that. I can only conjecture that he did not foresee that the Prieure was going to be sold, that he wasn't going to have these accidents. Although he did have intuition that he was going to have them, but perhaps he thought he was above it, and he learnt the hard way. But there are more interesting reasons. Maybe he thought, maybe for him, the people that came to see him had had a whole life, had had a whole mechanized life in society. And for them, their only hope was to have the road open in front of them so that they could choose. And without leaving the road open, they would never have become individuals. And becoming an individual is the only important thing. Because it is so rare, and it is so hard to do. It's very hard to make an individual after you grow up in a certain way, in a mechanized way. My own anything. It was very, very hard. And the other thought I had was that Gurdjieff did not wish to be financially stable. He did not wish to help his students that were around him in the Prieure. That was not his great wish. His great wish was bigger than that. It was to save mankind. And so the Prieure and the people there came second to that great wish.